hell no, to the no, 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 hell to the no, hell to the no, to the no, 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 hell no.
Welcome into the 615 Sessions podcast on this Friday, November the 29th. Thanks for hanging out here with us on the show. Hope your Thanksgiving was lovely. Hope you are enjoying some Egg Bowl action, some Raiders versus Chiefs, perhaps. A lot of good football on today, and the Titans heading to Washington tomorrow to try and string together something they haven't done in 35 straight games. I'm going to tell you what that is here in just a little bit. Happy to have you guys in for another episode of the podcast. Rashid says, at least we got something today. Oh, yes. Are you desperately dying for 3-8 football talk? Well, don't worry, baby. I got you, because I've been at practice all week. They had practice Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And so certainly with this streak on the line, a 2-year-old streak, as a matter of fact, that the Titans could stand to break against the Commanders on Sunday, there is the potential for you to start to legitimately build momentum here, even though we're heading into week 13, and you would love for that momentum to have been built, that progress to have been made by now, but these are the circumstances that you're handed, and we're going to work through these things with you together. You're going to hear from Brian Callahan specifically on something that was J.C. Latham in particular. J.C. Latham coming off his worst performance of his rookie season, and how much better he can stand to be because he experienced such a setback. We'll let you hear from Brian Callahan on that matter here in just a little bit. We're looking forward to talking about all of these things with you on this post-Thanksgiving 615 Sessions podcast. A quick reminder that before we get into this thing, that the 615 Sessions podcast is presented by Zen Sports. Zen Sports, where betting just got better. And a reminder that it's never too early to start thinking about the big game this November. Zen Sports, the new sports book in Tennessee, has launched a brand new sweepstakes for all its Tennessee customers. The big game sweepstakes, where you could win a grand prize of 2 tickets to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, or $10,000 cash. When you sign up for Zen Sports, you'll automatically earn up to a $100 no danger first wager. Easy for me to say. If your first bet loses, you'll be reimbursed for that full amount up to $100. So get in on the action. Zen Sports, promo code ATOZTN. Gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789. No danger first wager, limited to plus 500 odds to qualify. Terms and conditions do apply. Must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports. Okay, we have a team that has not won back-to-back games since October of 2022. The last time this franchise won back-to-back games, not this team specifically, because this year's team has never won back-to-back games. In fact, they've only won 3 on the season, as you well know. But the last time that this team won back-to-back games was the Denver Broncos, followed up by a Thursday night football game at Green Bay, where the result was spectacular, where the aftermath was horrendous, including Todd Downing getting a DUI, and the curse of the no 2-game win streak has spanned now 35 consecutive regular season games. 35 consecutive regular season games has it been since you won back-to-back games, and you have the opportunity to break that streak against the Commanders. So how can you go about doing this? Well, we've talked a lot about Will Levis. We've talked a lot about the progress that he's made. And this is a critical piece to that evaluation process, where every opportunity is simply another opportunity for this player to be evaluated. If he is a meaningful part of you breaking that streak, it will be, again, a step in the right direction for the Tennessee Titans, who are just trying to figure out what their quarterback situation is. Listen, I watched Colorado blow out Oklahoma State earlier today. I enjoy watching Travis Hunter. I enjoy watching Shedeur Sanders as college players. I've enjoyed watching Cam Ward. Carson Beck has been less of an enjoyable watch. Quinn Ewers is probably not going to be a quality NFL quarterback. The point is, this quarterback class, the best quarterback in this quarterback class, depending on how you'd have them stacked, most people, I think, would have Cam Ward as their highest ranked quarterback. A lot of people would have Jalen Milroe, ironically enough, as their highest ranked quarterback, though that is up to some debate. With everything that you have going on right now, the best possible situation, as we talked about a million different times, for the Tennessee Titans would be for Will Levis to work out, because this quarterback draft class is not going to fix any of your problems. And I was listening to a conversation the other day that really struck me in particular, because this is the experience that I think a lot of Titans fans are going through. The percentage chance that you find a quarterback that is so special that it's going to solve all of your problems, a la Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, that's really kind of the list this year. A Joe Burrow goes a long way as well, obviously, but an elite player at the quarterback position, the percentage chance that you find one of those guys just because you're picking high in the draft, slim to none. Waiting around for the right generational quarterback type prospect to hit for your team is not a strategy. It's wishful thinking. It's a fantasy scenario that you come up with in your head, because whatever you've got or whatever is out there must be better than what you're dealing with now. And the reality is that's just not the situation, right? Most teams are going to go through these level of bumps and bruises with a rookie quarterback. You would essentially be resetting the board of the position across the board for this team, wiping away any momentum that you gained. And by the way, that still doesn't mean that Will Levis has to be your guy. But I'm saying, if you are somebody who thinks that Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders or Jalen Milroe is going to be the savior of the Tennessee Titans just because you get to pick them high in any one particular draft, it's not a strategy. It's not a viable strategy, and certainly it's not one that NFL teams employ. Mike Bell says, thanks for, in the comments, by the way, if you want to share the broadcast around while we live stream the podcast today, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. It is something that I think a lot of people get caught up in, and I don't blame you, right? Especially when you've been as frustrated as this football season has, as many frustrations as it's led to, is what I'm trying to say. There is so many different things that you start to overthink, or that you start to essentially fantasize about, and quarterback is one of them, where Shedeur is going to come in with Coach Prime and save everything, and that's just not how these things work. So with everything that's going on here, it's incumbent upon Will Levis to go out there and win. It's incumbent upon whomever's starting at quarterback to go out there and win, but Levis is at least making those steps in the right direction. And if they do it against the Commanders, a team that's struggling, they have lost their last 3 in a row. The Commanders have not won a game since they beat the Giants on the road 27-22. They're coming off a pretty embarrassing loss to Dallas, and not just because their special teams went nuclear in this game. Jayden Daniels is a special player, but he's definitely hit a bit of a rookie wall. 2,613 yards so far, 12 touchdowns against 5 interceptions. Got a QBR of 66.7 for Jayden Daniels, but they do have some flaws. And I do think that a lot of the good work that Cliff Kingsbury had done on the front end to design an offense specific to Jayden Daniels, it becomes a lot harder to design an offense and then adjust that offense in the middle of the season. Now, once we're into November, right, we're through the halfway point of the season, people have adjusted to what you're running. Now you have to find ways to make those corrections in the season, and not everybody's capable of doing that. I think Cliff Kingsbury has hit as much of a wall as Jayden Daniels has, and this is incumbent upon you to capitalize, because the Commanders do have a substantially better record than you. They have looked significantly better than you in spurts, but it is not a team without flaws. Just like the Texans were not a team without flaws, and you went out there and you outplayed them, which is not something that anybody would have had on the board. The Commanders will be favored, and you understand why, but this is absolutely an opportunity that you can take advantage of here. So with that being said, a quick update on some of the stuff that took place today at practice. Tajay Spears is expected to clear the concussion protocol. It sounds like he is going to be available. Elsewhere, they ruled out Leroy Watson. Luke Gifford is going to be back in the lineup, the special teams player. And Chidobe Awuzie is not yet going to be activated from injured reserve. They just got him back at practice, and they are not able to officially clear him yet, though he is pretty close. So he will officially be out for this game as well. But getting Tajay Spears back in the mix is a good thing, obviously. Give Pollard a little bit of a respite, even though he's been a really good player. You want to continue to manage that workload. The dude's almost at 1,000 yards this season, which is crazy to think about that he's been that kind of effective despite the offensive futility that this team has had. And another thing to keep an eye on against this Commanders team is the pass protection. Titans offensive line has been, up and down all year. It's been, a great many things with your season have been a roller coaster, but the offensive line situation is one of them. Thought Nick Petit-Frere played pretty good football last week, but at a time where Nick looked salvageable, J.C. Latham got, and he put out at least the worst pass protection performance of his very, very young career so far in his rookie season, of course, as he has made all 11 of these starts to date, or I guess all 12. No, it's 11 starts for the Titans who have already had their bye. 11 of these starts for J.C. Latham, and this was his toughest day in pass pro. He allowed 5 total pressures. He allowed at least 2 sacks, 1 to Daniil Hunter and 1 to Will Anderson in this game. In fact, I think he allowed 2 apiece to those 2 players. Of the 8 sacks that were given up, Peter Skoronski alongside him has kind of leveled out, which gives him a little bit of grace, J.C. Latham, as far as that goes. But for Latham, this is a huge opportunity against a team that's not producing very well on the defensive end of things, even though they traded for Marshawn Lattimore to bolster their secondary, something they desperately needed. Their corners are not good by league standards, league average standards. Right now, this is a team that still can bother you. Dan Quinn will have ways to get after the quarterback in this situation. J.C. Latham's going to have to be equipped for that. So one of the questions that I asked Brian Callahan today at his brief Friday press conference was the idea of, well, how has he responded to this week? Because it's really the first time since like week 2, I think J.C. Latham had a rough time with the Jets. Week 1, obviously, his first NFL start was a rocky ride, but this was the worst game that he's had so far this season. And I thought Brian Callahan pointed out a bunch of different ways where J.C. Latham has continued to attack the ways that he was beaten, to properly address those things, attack the film study, and make sure that he is not going to be put in that vulnerable of a position again.
A proven runner and a good runner, and gives us a change of pace as well. Gives Tony a little bit of a breather when he needs it, but everything so far with Tajay has been good this week, and excited to have him back.
Anybody tip the scales at an alarming rate after Thanksgiving?
Well, I would never make anybody weigh in on Friday morning after Thanksgiving now. That's why the weigh-in's on Thursday. So, no, we didn't have that problem today.
What with them, what have teams done to maybe slow them down a little bit of late, or do you think the teams have slowed them down of late?
Hard to say. I think teams have done a nice job of keeping the run game in check. Their run game's been good, and especially when it's driven by Jayden and all the things he can do with it, with the ball in his hand as a runner, both in like the quarterback run game and with the ball in his hands off script in the pocket. You can see that people have kind of settled some of their stuff down in that regard, but they've still been pretty dang good. They've scored quite a few points, and even against a good team like Pittsburgh, they move the ball pretty well too. So. They're a good team. We got a work cut out for us. It's a good offense. They do a really nice job with the people they have, and they mix their tempos in, and they mix the run game. And Jayden, I think, has played for a young quarterback really well. So a lot of big tests for us.
How do you feel JC responded this week after one of the rougher outings that he's had so far?
I think he responded great. I think he came in, he take the coaching, and you see where you can get better. He sort of gave up that first sack and was sort of downhill after that moment for the rest of the game. Those are learning moments for a guy like him, and learning how to handle an in-game moment, not a great moment for him, and then just to be able to bounce back. And generally over the season he's done that, but that game was a battle for him to kind of get out of that mode, and got to make those corrections. And he's been great all week. I think he'll be ready to roll.
How much maybe?
That is Brian Callahan speaking earlier today at practice about J.C. Latham, Tajay Spears, and a variety of other things. I just dropped my phone here in the middle of the podcast. But in particular, Latham is something to monitor. He has been really, really sound, and he got exposed a little bit last week, as Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson will do to much better tackles, to high-level tackles. And J.C. Latham looks like he's going to be a high-level left tackle at in his NFL career. But good moment for him to kind of reset, reevaluate, and to have those moments where you can learn a lot of things in losses, whether they're individual losses or team losses. And that's something that has been a bit of a theme for this team so far this year. Otherwise, I think that's about all the news and notes out of this week of practice. It was pretty low-key week of practice. over at St. Thomas Sports Park, but this is a big deal for them to try and get right, for them to try and make this thing interesting come the month of November, or come the month of December now officially. We will be in December by the time the Titans and the Commanders kick off this game. And the thing to remember about this time of year is this is when teams have to really button up on who they are, what their bread and butter stuff is, and the most effective ways that they have to beat teams, right? That's what they kind of use the months of September and October to feel out. Obviously, you're trying to win while you feel out the process of that. But this is the time of year where every NFL team, regardless of what their record is, none of them are mathematically eliminated yet, even though you feel like many of them should be. These teams are going to have to really drill down on who they are and how it is that they know that they can win. And for the Titans, the running attack, the rushing attack, the defense, those are the two things that you know this team can bring to the table on any given or against any given opponent. The question becomes, how much further can their passing game lift them beyond what we've seen so far, including that performance at Houston where Will Levis just plainly outplays C.J. Stroud. Other than that, tune into the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. It'll be me, it'll be Blake Bishop, it'll be Brad Hopkins and Kayla Anderson. I'll be in Washington. I'm flying out tomorrow morning to cover the game for you guys there. And, of course, we'll have a primetime show tomorrow night, or I guess Sunday night, from Washington. I'll figure out the logistics for you on that because I know my flight is technically right in the middle of when we would normally be doing primetime. So stay tuned. Enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend, and I will see you in Washington on